So let's discuss one of the sensitive topics right now, which is about mental health or depression. Um, we know some incidents of depression, and we are very sorry for the families who are affected, and some even lose their lives because they have experienced or have suffered from depression. So in the old times, in the when we were younger, depression is really not is really unheard of for us. Maybe because the situation in the province when we were younger is that we have limited information. We don't have the right to be depressed because our gear is towards survival of the fittest, right? And we, even if we want to say that we are lonely or depressed and all that, we don't I cannot recall an incident that depression is so vocally discussed or openly expressed in many ways. So it is recently only that people are now admitting that they are undergoing depression, and I even thought that depression is a state of being and it's a matter of a temporary thing. So and I only have 3 units in psychology in college, or I don't really have that much knowledge in so far as behavior is concerned, although one of my strengths and actually my interest is to observe the behavior of people in certain cases, in certain times, and in a particular event. So okay, but go back to depression. Yes, during our time in the 1970s, 1980s, it is not openly discussed, and people even think that when you're depressed, you're either maarte, or you're either nagdadahilan ka lang, or you're either medyo nasisiraan ka ng bait or something. I'm very sorry for being direct about it. However, recently, people noticed, because there are cases of depression, and it happens in any status of life, whether you're rich, regardless of whether you're rich, regardless of whether you're educated, regardless of whether you're at the peak of your career and all that. So everything happens, every depression happens in all respects, and it could happen to anyone. So based on what I heard, depression is a feeling of suddenly being lonely, suddenly feeling the void. So what are the typical symptoms of depression? So depression can be manifested in the following. Like, for example, suddenly you lose interest on everything. As in, wala ka lang gana, no? To the point na halos maligo hindi mo nagagawin, to the point na hindi ka na kumakain. Wala ka lang gana, gusto mo lang humika, gusto mo lang tumulog, or gusto mo lang wala kang interest, wala kang focus, wala kang anything. So yon, you are not lazy, it's just that suddenly you lose interest in life. And then number 2 is when you're extremely lonely, yung bigla ka nilang iiyak, bigla ka nilang magbe-burst into tears, or suddenly you become irritable, or bigla ka nilang magagalit, bigla ka nilang magbe-burst ng emotions. But generally, to my observation, it's a change in pattern or behavior. So what we're saying is, if you notice a change in behavior to someone that you are close with, then take cognizant of that, because it might be an early onset of depression. So maybe you will ask, those are the yung naalala ko na maaaring nararamdaman ng isang depressed. Wala ka ng interest, sobrang lungkot mo, bigla ka na lang magbe-burst ng emotions, either magtatatawa ka, or magagalit ka, and suddenly you feel as if you're lazy, or you lose interest on things. So what are the causes of depression? Well, the reverse, like bakit ka ba nagiging malungkot, no? So like for example, if there are changes in your life changes, like if there is a death in the family, like if you're summa cum laude and all that, and you were not accepted by the firm that you want to work with, or say for example, mas maganda yung relasyon nyo ng inyong boyfriend and jowa mo, tas biglang nakipag-break sa'yo na hindi mo alam ang dahilan, or hindi na talaga nagpaalam at all. So yon, or suddenly you live a comfortable life and then in a snap biglang nawala lahat ng comfort mo sa buhay. Mahirap yon, as in mahirap talaga. Or frustrations, or shall I say, hindi natupad ng mga pangarap, ganon, or mga hindi maatim na hindi mo maabot na kagustuhan mo. Ang daming dahilan, as in. Or minsan bigla na lang nagbago ang iyong pananaw sa buhay, no? But generally to me, it's a void or a certain loneliness. Like for example, when my father died and my brother died, yes, admittedly, I was so depressed, I was so lonely, and hindi talaga ako, lumalaban lang ako sa mundo, pero ang hirap. As in, ang hirap. Hindi ko alam kung paano ko nakapagtrabaho noon or something, because it's really very, very lonely and it's very, very sad. So, and meron ding genetics, no? Hindi mo makokontrol yung genetics mo, kasi kung marami kayong depressed or sa family mo, nadidepress talaga kayo, hindi mo makokontrol yon. So, and then, yung siguro yung outside world din. So, kung ang mga tao sa paligid mo ay hindi masayahin, laging tahimik and all that, gusto mong maging masayahin, so nadidepress ka, di ba? So, yun. And of course, the bigger one is actually the bigger one for me is losing a loved one. Number 2 is financial burden. Yes. And sometimes it's a work related as well. So yung mga ganon, no? So what will you do if you see a person who is depressed? Well, number 1 is take time to listen. Makinig ka. Pabayaan mo siyang magsalita. In fact, ang nakakatakot dyan, karamihan sa mga depressed, hindi sila nagsasalita. Yun yung mga as in, yun talaga. Hindi mo na parang ginto na sa'yo kung makapagsalita sila, because they rather be silent, because also they don't want to be judged, and in a society where stigma is being imprinted on some people who we say, depressed ako, yun, kaya hindi na lang sila nagsasalita, di ba? So, pero nakakatakot. Sabi nga nila, silent water runs deep, and as if there is just a time bomb, a ticking time bomb, right? So, and then another is take time to listen. Number 2 is what I learned is always say I love you. Always cheer up the person who is depressed, and always, do a little deed of kindness so that he can see that the world is still beautiful and the world is still worthy to live in, right? So, ayun, and of course, isisingit ko yung faith, kasi malaking bagay din kasi kung meron kang faith, no? Kasi more or less meron kang tinatawagan, no? So yun yung na, kasi may mga bagay talaga na gusto natin sa mundo na hindi natin maabot. So at least kung may kausap ka na, alam mo, Panginoon ko, blah 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 and all that. So malaking bagay din yung faith, no? For people who are believers like me, no? So okay, so another is saying I love you, and number 4 is perhaps every one of us should take change as a matter of something that is that we should embrace. Because as it is, ang hirap talaga lalo pa pag nagkaroon ng pagbabago, lalo pa kung ikaw ay nasa comfort zone mo na. Ayun talaga, medyo mahirap. And siguro din, let's not be judgmental of people, because we don't know what they're going through. We should not be insensitive, and because we don't know what is inside their hearts. And it's not really easy. Um, I know some friends who said that they just suddenly cannot control their emotions. And for in my case, I suddenly cry in the evenings, of which I was thinking, why? So suddenly magiging sobrang lungkot mo na lang. And according to statistics, the depression happens more on women. Perhaps because of our anatomy and all this, because we're sensitive and we are termed as weak, and our emotions or our hormones probably are different from men. And number two, it affects mostly on onset on when you are on a teenager, no, because probably because of the anatomy changes in your body as well, and the fact that you cannot adapt easily from a childhood, from a child to another level of your life, no. And so kumbaga parang sinasabi na kayong matatanda hindi kayo dapat nadidepress. But I cannot deny that I have cases or moments of depression, but I have never sought a professional help because I have never reached that extent. However, yes, I have the early onset of depression as well. So, um, I'm truly sorry for the teenager. I cry with the relatives on the of that unfortunate event. She even posted a message on Facebook before that happened, and unfortunately I was not able to read it. So anyway, uh, it is not easy, really. It is not, and as such, I hope that the government or the family should take cognizant of mental health as a part of the essential sector of society, and a special uh, element of family life, because as it is, a troubled mind cannot function well. A troubled mind cannot, think adept as he used to be, and a troubled mind really has a lot of consequences. So let us pray for those who are currently undergoing depression. It is never easy, really. It is not. Life is so unfair sometimes, but in my experience, life is still worth living. If we could consider our blessings, there are just too many to and outweigh, and the blessings outweigh any misfortunes we have. And if we could consider that it is not only us, everyone, even the rich people, have moments of downs and not only ups. Sabi nga nila, hindi naman araw-araw ay bagyo. So I'm praying for everyone who is suffering from depression. Let us consider that as an important element of our lives, and let us offer our help to anyone who is in need. God bless everyone, and good evening.